Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of On the Bench. It is good to finally be back. It's been a bit of a slow start. Everyone's been quite busy at the start of this year. But we were quite sad to have to let it go at the end of last term, but things happen with university, everyone gets busy. Obviously we are a society, so we have to do things as and when we can. But today we are starting again. Hopefully this will be the start of something new. We're going to hopefully get it going in person again soon. Just waiting on a few COVID regulations and stuff like that. But today here with me, I've got Abby, who is our president.
Hello.
And Tao, or Jacob. He is our welfare officer for this year.
Hello.
Obviously, I'm Tyler. I run all of the graphics and content. So let's just get started. Obviously, this week, big controversial topic. We're starting with the Ballon d'Or. Some people aren't happy, and I can understand why. Obviously, we've seen a bit of controversy. Some people say Messi, some people say Lewandowski. Let's go. What do you guys think?
I predicted Lewandowski, especially after 2012, when obviously that didn't happen. There was no Ballon d'Or that year. And then the way he's progressed through 2021, Bayern win the Bundesliga again, breaking records for goal scoring. I really think he should have got it this year. And I truly think he was robbed. That's the word I'm going to use, robbed.
Yeah, I think that tends to be the general consensus at the moment. How about you?
Well, I think I definitely had him down to win it. In my opinion, I think he was definitely those two are definitely the two front runners to win.
Oh, for sure.
To win it. He definitely probably should. He should have beaten Messi. But I think from what a lot of people have said, and what I've seen, putting a disrespect on kind of Messi's season in a way. I do to make it out that believe that Lewandowski should have won it because he should have won it off last year alone, and then he's had an even better season this year. His team's not won the Champions League, but at the end of the day, I don't think that's an indication of how good a single player season is when that's a team trophy. You can't beat a 40-odd-year-old record and not get some kind of
for sure. That Bundesliga scoring record is one that people definitely should look at. And as you said, it was I think everyone was in consensus, even the pros were in consensus that last year was Lewandowski's Ballon d'Or, and he lost it purely for the fact that it wasn't run. But just looking at some of the votes, Messi finished on top with 613. Lewandowski obviously in second place with 480. Jorginho in third place with 460. So yeah, it's definitely. I do agree that I think people are taking out what a fantastic season Messi has had. Obviously, winning his first international trophy with Argentina, making the transition to PSG, which I think if he would have gone straight into the first team, like playing great, fantastic how he is now, people would potentially be looking at it as a bit closer. But I agree that Lewandowski definitely is the choice for me for this year at least. But I think Messi has had a fantastic 2021, and I agree. There's been a lot of disrespect on his name for this season. But obviously, looking a little bit further down the list, you've got Jorginho in third place winning the Champions League and the Euros. I think a lot of people have put him down to that purely because of those trophies won and potentially not the individual additions he's made to the team. Obviously, he scored some important goals for Chelsea. I mean, if you look at the things he has made mistakes along the way. Obviously, the penalty miss in the final. But I think all in all, his minutes played, the trophies he's won, he has been an important figure for us this season. But then looking a little bit further down the list, you've got players like Karim Benzema in fourth, Kante in fifth, Ronaldo sixth, Salah seventh. I think potentially people would be saying Salah maybe should be slightly higher up the list.
Yeah, I definitely ranked Salah higher. I ranked him like third or fourth.
I would have.
My list.
Yeah, I think Salah definitely should have been. I think he should have been higher than Ronaldo. That's for sure. I think Salah had a much better 2021 than Ronaldo has. But looking a little bit further down the list, we look at players like De Bruyne at 8, Mbappe 9, and Donnarumma 10. I think De Bruyne and Mbappe have had quality years, and then you can't argue. But for me, the big outlier there is Donnarumma. Obviously, I know I'm biased as a Chelsea fan, but the year Mendy has been phenomenal. And I think what has meant he has not won the new goalkeeper of the year, the Yashin Award, that's been new for this year. I think the reason he hasn't won it is because he's not a European player. Didn't compete in that higher pedigree European tournament in the summer. And I think that's unfair to him, considering I think at first it was quite harsh. Like the other way, we went from having Kepa, who was obviously a poor goalkeeper for us, to having Mendy, who was competent in every area. So for us, that was incredible. But just it seemed like every time he stepped foot on the pitch, he got better and better. And still, we're seeing week in, week out, we're facing shots, and he is saving everything. I think he's still sitting something crazy at like the high 80% save percentage for the shots he's faced. And obviously, at the moment, us looking like the powerhouse figure we are, he was important in our Champions League run. I think he was robbed of that award. We had other players like Pedri winning the under-21s Player of the Year. I don't think many people can complain in that.
I think he deserved that. I mean, it was Bellingham as well. Bellingham had a really, really good season last year. I
think it was definitely between those two.
Yeah, I think maybe if Bellingham would have won a trophy, maybe if he'd played a bigger part.
He had won a trophy.
Well, I mean, like
what Pedri had won.
If
Pedri had played every single game.
Yeah,
so that's
and Olympics as well, wasn't
he? Yeah. Yeah, I think if Bellingham maybe won the Euros with England and something like that, he might have the tip of the iceberg over Pedri. But I don't think many people were really complaining about that. And then again, another new award with the Striker of the Year. There's zero complaints at it being Lewandowski. I think some people are saying it was kind of given to him because he didn't win the Ballon d'Or, but regardless, it's a trophy he's won and well deserved. We've got Club of the Year, Chelsea Football Club. Again, I think it could have gone to a few, but I mean, we're probably going to see it go to the team.
Pretty much every year it's given to the team that wins the Champions League.
Yeah,
so.
I think that's going to be the trend we see, unless like something major happens with another club, like maybe some big outlier wins the Champions League, who maybe wouldn't have been so dominant that we may see a different club with that. But no, but I think all in all, it wasn't that controversial a year. I think the only thing people can really say is the Lewandowski and Messi debate. But again, I think it can be flipped on his. I think if Lewandowski won it last year, people may be less angry that he didn't win it this year. Like it probably people would have been like, well, it was pretty 50-50 between the two of them. But I think it's still people still feel like he was robbed of getting it last year. And then now this year probably should have got it in compensation. But again, a lot of people saying that's not really how the Ballon d'Or works. So
I just want to give a quick. I'll go for it. Sorry.
Yeah. I'd say even without compensation, I think he's definitely deserved it. I think the only thing stopping me is the fact that Bayern didn't really make any progress in the Champions League when they won it the year before. They romped to another Bundesliga title. Yeah, they didn't win the cup, but he scored what have I got down here? 48 goals in 40 games with 9 assists.
It's crazy.
And then a further 8 goals in 8 games for Poland and 3 in the Euros. So you look at that, I think
they're big numbers.
He's also got 25 and 20 this year as well. So he's actually had a very probably an underrated start to this year as well. With not many people talking about in this year. But
we are still very new into this season anyway. So I think as the season develops, and as I think once we sort of sink our teeth in a bit further into the Champions League, because I don't think there's really much drama going on in the group stage. I think the only one probably is the Bayern-Barca group. Everything else is pretty much running as we'd expect. Maybe when we start.
I just want to give a quick shout out to the women's Ballon d'Or as well.
Oh
a lot of people don't really tend to focus on it. But Barca finished 1-2 in that. So I think it was Alexa Pilates finished first. and then I think it was Hermoso finished second.
Yeah.
Like Barca literally wiped the floor in their league.
Well, we saw that in the Champions League, didn't we? In the Champions League final.
Destroyed Chelsea in the final of the Champions League. Like, I'm pretty sure like Pilates, who won, scored like 26 goals in all competitions last season, and she's a midfielder. So she absolutely wiped the floor with like stats and everything last year. Like, this Barca team is quality. And then obviously Sam Kerr finished, I think she finished third, and then Ida Meyer for Arsenal finished fourth. So you could just see the calibre of women's football as represented in the Ballon d'Or is getting higher and higher each year, and the quality of football.
It's been a crazy year for Barcelona, hasn't it? Like, their team is
honestly
unreal.
Insane. Some of them have come to the Women's Super League now as well. So it's really exciting to see, the English league getting bigger.
Well, speaking, I don't know if you saw, bit off topic, but I don't know if you saw yesterday that the women's England team beat Latvia 20-0.
Yeah.
4 players scored a hat trick. So Mayhem got 4. So that's a bit of a routing, but I think that kind of concludes everything we have to say about the Ballon d'Or. I think with a few of the other categories that we're not really too much, but next big topic of football at the moment has to be Man United. Obviously, we saw the sacking of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, was it a couple of weeks ago now? Last week?
Yeah.
And has been confirmed over the last couple of days that Ralf Rangnick is going to be the temporary manager of Manchester United to finish the end of the season, and then will fill into a technical advisory role at the club for the next couple of years. Just want to throw some names out there. Ralf Rangnick, obviously, mostly well known for building and securing the future for the Red Bull system across Europe. Had roles at Salzburg and at Leipzig. Had a short managerial stint at Leipzig. But some players that he has signed, brought Manuel Neuer up through the academy at Schalke. Obviously, one name that's been thrown around a lot is Joshua Kimmich, signed for 500k. Brought players in like Konate and Upamecano for not a lot of money at Leipzig. David Alaba again. Naby Keita, Sabitzer. Again, a lot of these players are Red Bull players. Another one was he brought Timo Werner across from Stuttgart over to Leipzig back in 2016. I think the big names that people are looking at that he has worked with at least is Roberto Firmino. Obviously, what a player he's become now. Sort of crafted that false 9 role in the Premier League over these last few seasons, especially the last sort of 2 or 3 years at Liverpool have been dominant. Sadio Mane, signing him from Metz to Salzburg for 3.6 million. Like, looking at that now, that's phenomenal. And then obviously the man of the moment at the moment, Erling Haaland, brought from Molde to Salzburg for 7.2 million. Like, that is some unreal talent he's brought into these clubs that has not only been successful players for those clubs, but incredible money making when those players have left the club and had. Obviously, we've seen some of these players have a phenomenal career, players like Neuer and Alaba and stuff like that, but we're only seeing the start of careers of players like Upamecano, Timo Werner, Erling Haaland, obviously both early into their careers. So just kind of want to get your guys' opinions on what you think about the current appointment from Man United. Abby, do you want to go?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's quite a good idea to keep him to the end of the season and then obviously offer him a different role. So obviously it may not be searching for a new manager then, but I think for now they need someone that's got experience, can work with young players, can work with players who have been there for a while, and then obviously some older players as well. He's got a lot of big decisions to make. I mean, Carrick, hasn't lost his 2 games that he's just been interim, and obviously now with him coming in, I think it's a good move to the end of the season. It gives him that time to see what he can do with the team, gets to know them, and see who he can bring in when he moves up to his new technical role, and then bring the manager he thinks that can suit the philosophy and bring in the things that he wants, but also the new manager at the end of the season can incorporate what he wants as well. So I think it's a great move for them. He's
obviously known as the godfather of the Gegenpress, showing it all the way back in like 2005. So he knows the system well, and I think the big outlier at the moment is how does he fit players like Ronaldo and stuff like that into a gegenpress system, which we know involves a lot of movement off the ball and a lot of energy. Man United have players who are going to be very suited to that role. Probably going to see a 4-2-3-1 stay, maybe a 4-3-3. But I'd be surprised if he shies away from the 4-2-3-1, especially knowing how effective players like Bruno and stuff like that in the 10. I know I've seen a couple of other people say he may bring the 4-2-2-2, which he used at Leipzig. Again, could suit players, maybe moving Bruno out wide, allow someone to support Ronaldo up front with the press. But that will leave them exposed on the counter-attack, which we know they already have problems with at the moment. Tal, do you want to?
I think it's going to be quite interesting seeing him move into that kind of director role next year, because obviously the way he's done it at other clubs is signing players cheap, selling them big. That's obviously probably not how United either want to work or may not work. They could turn around and go that way, but that would have to require them perhaps having a few more years of not really finishing anywhere that high up, getting top 4 every year, getting a couple of cups and that, which the fans and the club probably don't really want, but they might have to adopt it for a better future, because considering the club doesn't really have much in the way of money to spend, that wouldn't be a bad thing. Obviously, I think he's underrated manager. When I first heard about it all coming out, I think I'd heard the name, wasn't too acquainted with him, but then once I'd read up on him, I guess I knew where he come from, the players he kind of brought through, Kimmich, Firmino.
I think he is a bit of a like he's a bit of an unknown name in like the modern football, at least. Like I think once people like start to learn a bit more about him, they're like, oh, okay, like he actually is has been quite a big thing, especially for the Red Bull system throughout Europe.
I think he's definitely going to have more of an impact in the director role, because
I think so.
I think he'd probably be more effective at that than being a manager. I don't know much about his management system and how good he actually is, because obviously he was decent at Leipzig. They managed to push for like second place, so he could perhaps take that United team somewhere in the few months that he's got left. So we'll have to wait and see.
Well, obviously, I think I'd be surprised if we don't see any signings come into Manchester United in the summer, but I don't think it will be for a lot of money. I think we're going to be looking at that similar philosophy that we've seen before of buying these young players cheap and moving them, and then either moving them, transitioning them into the team, or using them as assets for now to then create money to buy the bigger players in the future. So I've had a look and done a bit of research at some players he has enjoyed using. A big name that sticks out to me is Haidara from Leipzig. Plays in that holding midfield role. Is used to playing in a pivot system. He has a 33 million euro release clause, which obviously is a great deal for them. Only 23 years old, can come straight into the system that he's going to try and implement in January. Obviously, a cheap option to fill that role that everyone says that's big gaping midfield role that Man United are looking for. He seems to be from what I've read up about. He seems to be the best option at the moment. Obviously, great value for money. Experience playing in Champions League. What do you think about that?
I think it's going to be an interesting one to look at, considering he's only really known for his work in Germany. He's not really done too much. I guess you could count Austria in that, but I'd say that's quite similar system-wise, because it's a whole Red Bull franchise, so effectively the same thing. I think what he'll go for is more of a buy-in closer to home. I think what he'll look at is more Premier League proven players, because that's the issue United have had. You look at the likes of Fred, say like Andreas Pereira, players, Dalot maybe.
Even you say Donny van de Beek hasn't
Donny van de
found
Beek, I think he's underrated, but he's just not had the game time to prove what he's actually worth. But like players, United are pretty famous for buying players from abroad that have not turned out to be anywhere near worth
what they thought
they are. So I think the best thing that he could do is probably sign you know, the players for not too much. Maybe look into the Championship. Maybe not for a starter, but for someone who looks pretty promising, or lower down the table, like looking at your midfield teams, like an Everton or a Villa or a Wolves or something. See if there's someone in there that could fill a role down the line, who has that Premier League experience. Someone like Max Kilman or something, who's early 20s, who's played that many Premier League games, who would cost them less than 10 million. Realistically,
well, there's been lots of names flying around at the moment, players like Declan Rice and Kelvin Phillips and stuff like that. But I can't see Man United going in and splashing that much money. Well, especially not when they don't have a plan for the future. Obviously, Rangnick is only a 6-month deal as your manager, and even as a director role, he's not going to be like that influence on the system that whichever manager comes after him is going to want to put in. So I just don't realistically see them splashing 100-something mil on a player who, obviously, they're going to be an impactful player, but potentially that money could be better spent on building a system from the ground up that a new manager would want to come in. And
I think that's where the homegrown thing comes in, though. Like, I think that's the best thing he can do. So you've mentioned players like Declan Rice. I don't think there's really a chance of them getting Declan Rice.
No.
Whereas Phillips, I think, is realistic. The only thing I could think of is that he wouldn't want to go to United because he's at Leeds. But if Leeds carry on the way they're going, if their injuries come back, Bamford doesn't hit the ground, they don't make great signings in the January transfer window, they're going to really struggle to finish the season in a positive position. Obviously, they can still do that. Rafinha is on top form, and when players come back, they might turn it round. But if they find themselves in January really struggling, United might go, let's try and splash the money out for Phillips, make a bid in mid-season, get it confirmed for the next year.
Yeah,
he might accept it, he might not. You'd have to see. But if Leeds are in an awful position, might go down. He's not going to stay at the club when he's an England international, and he would be a very good signing for United as well. So.
Yeah, I agree. Well, again, I think a lot of the players that United have been linked with are players from abroad because through the background of Rangnick. Another player that I've seen heavily linked with Manchester United, looking a bit more at the future, especially of their attack. Obviously, Ronaldo is in phenomenal form at the moment, but he's Cristiano Ronaldo. We know we're not going to get him for. He's not going to be like this for the next sort of 5-6 years. We're probably only going to see him at this form maybe for 2-3 years at the most. So one player that has popped up quite a lot for me is Karim Adeyemi, currently playing for Salzburg in the Austrian League. Scored 11 goals in 15 games in the Australian Bundesliga, 3 goals in 5 games in the Champions League. He's been an electric figure for them this season, especially. Potentially one to look at. Would be very suited for a gegenpress role, especially if they want to play a 4-2-3-1, where you've got that single striker who has to do the dirty work, and he's been seen doing a lot of it this year. Obviously, again, not proven, and we've seen what happens with players travelling from, like attackers especially, travelling from abroad and coming into the Premier League. It takes time to adjust. Some of them may not be suited, but we again, they're kind of ones where for the money, looking around the £18 million mark, like is that one where maybe you're not spending into the 50s, 60s million? Is it worth the risk trying to bring in a young player, see if they can make the change? But any other ideas?
I think Adeyemi is a very big risk for United to take. I know he's from Liv talking to me about him. He's very there's a very high chance of him either going to Dortmund. The Bayern are interested, and also obviously Leipzig
maybe
with the
up
Red
to
Bull
Leipzig,
link. I think he's leaning more to a Bundesliga move.
Yeah.
Obviously, United's still on the cards, and as much as they're not in the greatest situation, that is a big club that they're after. I don't know if he'd maybe fit the role as well. I feel like they'd kind of need a bigger kind of striker up top with the wingers that they have. Obviously, I think he's a player I'd be interested in seeing in the Prem. He's like 2021. You know, it's and you can get him for cheap. It's just also
he's 19. He turns 20 in Jan.
So 19. That's still a teenager. They're not going to charge that much for him. It's just I think United have made so many big risks over the past few years. You know, look at Sanchez, Pogba, Bruno, who's actually worked out in a way. Even Ronaldo,
Jadon Sancho's.
Yeah, just Sancho.
I think Varane's quite a risk as well.
I'd say Ronaldo was quite a risk as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. No one knew what Ronaldo we were going to expect to see. Obviously, he's been on fantastic form, and especially in the Champions League, been a massive part of United's success so far. But we know that, especially Rangnick himself, does not like to buy those older players. He likes to use what they have to build the experience and to bring in the youth players to build the rest of the club up. But obviously, we know Rangnick's only going to be in for these 6 months. So kind of looking on from that, what kind of ideas do you have for managers who could potentially take the role? I know I've seen lots of rumours of people like Brendan Rodgers I've seen thrown around, which is a bit of a strange one to me. Zidane, Enrique, seen Gareth Southgate, Ten Hag, another one.
Yeah, it's a hard one, isn't it? Because, I mean, if I had to pick one, obviously you mentioned Ten Hag, but if I had to pick one, I would go towards Enrique, who was in charge of Barcelona.
Yep.
Only because he has experience of winning big trophies. You know, he knows how to work with good players. And I think Man United have really good players, but they haven't really utilised them as much as they probably could do. Like, they spent a lot of money on Maguire. You have to utilise that. And I think Enrique could possibly bring it out. Enrique is known to signing big players. I mean, he signed Suarez, he signed Umtiti, Steigen. I mean, he signed Turan when Turan was actually a really decent
He made
player.
a good impact in that first season, didn't he?
Massive. So I think players like that are already at Man United. I think Van der Beek can play a massive role. As you guys said, I think he's a brilliant player, but he just hasn't been utilised enough.
Very, very underlooked.
And I think, and obviously, Messi was at Barca, and obviously Ronaldo's of the same quality, if not better in some aspects, and Messi better in others. So I think they both team, if he does become in charge, they both have that one-star player that he's used to, and you need Ronaldo to link with all of them. And I think bringing Enrique in could be a good thing.
Well, I think the biggest question is now is, do United build around Ronaldo, or do United look to build for after Ronaldo? Because obviously bringing in a young striker now could be the best thing for them. Someone who's going to get game time in the cups, come in when, because we know Ronaldo's not going to be able to play 52 games this year. Get him to come in when Ronaldo's not playing. Obviously, there's not a better striker right now you could be learning under. But again, it's that risk of, will he actually learn under Ronaldo? Is he going to get the relevant game time that he's going to need to develop over the next few years? We don't know how Ronaldo's fitness is going to be. A massive injury to him that's going to put a lot of pressure on this young player that they potentially brought up as a rotational role.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know they've got players like Cavani and stuff like that, but we know that, especially in the system that they're potentially looking at, Cavani's probably not going to be very suited to it. Obviously he's used to that more target man role, so they may have to do a bit of adapting. Maybe maybe trying to push again for that 4-2-2. But yeah, for me personally, I think Ten Hag makes the most sense. Suits Rangnick's system that he's going to put in to the T. He uses it at Ajax. Play some fantastic, fun to watch football. Obviously, both of them are well known for bringing in some excellent players. So I can see them both fitting well together, and I think that's a recipe for success from Man United.
Yeah.
But all right, we're swiftly running out of time, so I'm gonna propose our last question. First to both of you, and then to everyone else. We love to see these going in the comments. So I'll start with you, Tao. Who is your favourite managerial appointment across world football this season, and why?
I think I struggle to remember his name. I think for me, it's between Leipzig's new manager, the American. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Obviously, that was in the whole Red Bull. That was a whole Red Bull franchise movement. He guided them from another Austrian
Jesse
Bundesliga
Marsch.
win. Jesse Marsch. It got them another Austrian Bundesliga win.
Yeah.
Unsurprising, but pretty emphatically from what I saw. Had a good Champions League campaign, brought in some good players, made a lot of money from resales. And as Leipzig haven't had the best season, but I think he's done well.
Yeah.
And I think, but I'd also say Rosa at Dortmund as well.
Yeah,
I think he's been very good.
Yeah.
Obviously got that Bundesliga pedigree, and
Yep.
Dortmund look like, but even with all the injuries they've got, they could actually win the league if they carry on the way they're going.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
between those two for me.
Cool. Abby?
Patrick Vieira.
Yeah.
Palace. Got rid of so many players, out of contract. Bought in a bunch of new players, really good players, even on loan. Bought them, playing well, playing good football. I know they lost the league last night, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say Vieira.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think Patrick Vieira has been a great, absolutely perfect managerial appointment for Crystal Palace. Lots of people were a bit sceptical at what he could actually do as a manager, but I think the players he's brought in, obviously we've seen great things from Odsonne Edouard, Conor Gallagher being arguably the player of the young player of the season this year, and then people like Michael Olise, stuff like that off the bench. Obviously we haven't seen a lot from Eze, but he's recovering from quite a harsh injury. But I think apart from that, I think the only other one we mentioned potentially is Jose Mourinho at Roma. Adds a little bit of breath of life to them. Tammy Abraham's looking like a monster striker with them. A lot of new players coming into the system. But apart from that, yeah, I think that is pretty much all we've got time for. Give your opinions, obviously, in the comments below. Send us your messages on Instagram. All the relevant social links will be in the description. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you later. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.